I'm now pleased to introduce Eunsuk Chang from the Republic of Korea Air Force, who will present Auditing Hierarchical Alignments of Partially Antonymous Concept Pairs in SNOMED CT. Eunsuk, please proceed.
Thank you for introducing me. My name is Eunsuk Chang, wearing same t-shirts as in the picture. And I'm from the South Korean Air Force. So today I'd like to talk about my research on auditing the hierarchical relations of partially autonomous concept pairs in SNOMED CT. So SNOMED CT is one of the largest and most comprehensive ontology system, and it boasts the extensive coverage of various domains, including findings, diseases, procedures, and therapies. And the size of the SNOMED CT getting larger, it is getting difficult to keep track of modeling consistency of SNOMED CT. So this complexity in SNOMED CT modeling often leads to inconsistent allocation of symmetric concepts. So symmetric concepts here are defined as a set of concepts that share a core idea while they differ in the meaning in terms of context modifiers. So for example, aneurysm of thoracic aorta and aneurysm of abdominal aorta are symmetric concepts because while they share a core idea of aneurysm of aorta, but they differ in the existence in the sites they occur. So when we look at the modeling of these two concepts, we might have found it some inconsistent or not very efficient. So the two concepts, while they are symmetric, the two concepts don't share a common parent, nor do they inherit any context modifiers from their respective parents. So, and partially autonomous concept pairs are specific cases of symmetric concepts in which the two concepts are autonomous in terms of context modifiers or prepositional phrases. So, for example, MRI with contrast and MRI without contrast are partially autonomous concepts because they are autonomous in terms of the use of contrast. So, and inconsistent modeling of partially autonomous concept pairs can lead to destabilized computational linguistic models, such as in knowledge graph embeddings or semantic similarity. So, we will look at how this misaligned partially autonomous concept pairs can disrupt computational linguistic models in the following slides. And the modeling of symmetric concepts or partially autonomous concept pairs can be divided into three types. In type 1, which is desirable, the two concepts in the pair inherit context modifiers or prepositional phrases from their respective parents, and the core idea of these two concepts are the specification of their parents. And in type 3, which is also desirable, the two concepts in the pair share a common parent, which is the generalization of their core concept. However, in type 6, which is undesirable, the two concepts don't share a common parent, nor do they inherit context modifiers or prepositional phrases from their respective parents. And in this way, there is no way for computer systems or humans to figure out that the two concepts are closely related or autonomous. So in this study, we examined if there are any misaligned partially autonomous pairs under SNOMED CT's hierarchies, and we especially looked at the disease and procedure hierarchies of SNOMED CT, which are expected to have most of the partially autonomous concept pairs. To do this, we loaded 2022 January version of SNOMED CT RRF file onto MySQL, and SQL queries were executed to find all the concepts that contain with or without phrases in their descriptions. And also, we also searched for all synonyms and preferred names of them to make sure that we examined all semantic as well as lexical symmetry. And this table shows the number of concepts under the procedure and disease hierarchies of SNOMED CT by symmetry types. As you can see here, 132 and 477 concept pairs under the procedure and disease hierarchies were partially autonomous pairs, respectively. And we found that about 7 to 8% of them were undesirably aligned under these hierarchies, which means these were undesirable type 6 concept pairs. So let me show some examples of type 6. Sorry for my typo, it's type 6. Type 6 undesirable pairs. So orchids with abscess and orchids without abscess are partially autonomous concept pairs because they are autonomous in terms of the existence of abscess. But they do not share a common parent, nor do they inherit context modifiers from their respective parents. In another example, closed reduction of a fracture with internal fixation, and that without internal fixation are partially autonomous concept pairs. And they are autonomous in terms of the use of internal fixation. But when you look at their parent, a parent of one concept only represents the context of internal fixation, and a parent of the other concept only represents a common idea of closed reduction of fractures. So these two parents only represent two different dimensions, and which will bring in inconsistency when it performs logical classification. So why does the consistency in the modeling of partially autonomous concept pairs matters in computational linguistics? So let's say we have two partially autonomous concepts, acute gastrojejunal ulcer with hemorrhage and with perforation and with obstruction, and the other one without obstruction. So when we project these two concepts onto the three-dimensional space with each dimensional plane representing perforation, hemorrhage, and obstruction, the two vectors that represent these two concepts are orthogonal on the obstruction plane. So it can figure out that the computer system can figure out in this way that the two concepts are autonomous in terms of the existence of obstruction, while they are synonymous in terms of rest of the other contexts. And I said that both type 1 and type 3 are both desirable, but I would say type 3 is more desirable for robust lexical retrieval. So let me say that we query acute gastrojejunal ulcer with hemorrhage and with perforation. And in type 3, we can retrieve both cases with obstruction and without obstruction, while in type 3, we cannot. So I would say the type 3 would be more desirable form of modeling of partially autonomous pairs to enhance for reliable and robust lexical or semantic retrieval. So to conclude, we found that about 7% of partially autonomous pairs are undesirably located under the disease and procedure hierarchies in SNOMED CT, and inconsistent modeling of context can lead to linguistic computational flaws. And type 3 is more desirable, I would say, than type 1 for both lexical and semantic querying and other context other than preposition transitional phrases need to be examined to make sure the generalizability of our findings. And that's it for my presentation today.
Thank you, Eunsuk.
Thank you.
Eunsuk will now take questions. If you're in the room, please wait for the microphone before you speak. I will just check if there are any coming through on the Zoom call. There are not. Kinwa.
Hi, thank you for the interesting work that you're doing. So my question is related to the status of the concept that you're looking at, whether they're fully defined or not fully, or they're primitive concepts. So in the pairs that you've looked at, the partially autonomous pairs, and you classify them into three types. Do you find a difference in the distribution of fully defined concepts among the three types?
Thank you for a very good question. I have not examined whether there are any differences in the distribution of these misaligned pairs by defined or the undefined concepts. I did not look at that. But I found that there are a lot of misaligned concept pairs there. I found that they often lack many attribute relationships. And that would be closely related to that they are, in most cases, they are not fully defined concepts. So I would say, when we look at attribute relationships, we will find that they are desirably, the modeling may be desirably modeled when you consider attribute relationships, but I found that there are many missing attribute relationships in those cases.
Thank you. Eunsuk, I had a question because this is particularly relevant to the work that I do. I'm working for the Quality Initiative project within SNOMED International, where we seek to resolve modeling inconsistencies. Can you say, did you communicate your results to SNOMED International? And if you didn't, what do you think inhibited you from doing that? I have not yet talked with SNOMED CT about this matter. But I'd love to say that because there are a lot of some inconsistencies involved. I found much cases of modeling inconsistency. And actually, this research was the childbirth of my previous research, which looked at I suggested a vector-based similarity measure using SNOMED hierarchies. I didn't, in that study, I didn't use any NLPs or any others methods. I just looked at the hierarchies and suggested path-based measures to measure a similarity between two concepts in SNOMED CT. And I found that the inconsistency of the modeling in SNOMED CT often hinders the reliable measure of a similarity between two concepts in SNOMED CT. So when we set the rule for modeling these closely related concepts, it would be very grateful for measuring concept similarity using SNOMED CT's hierarchies or relationships on the graphical on the graphs, SNOMED CT's graphs. Thank you. We'd love to review this work, so I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yong and then Ola after that.
As Peter said, we're looking forward to see the work you have done, identify the potential issues in the terminology. And for example, with and without is one challenge area. We have done some work for the imaging with contrast, without contrast. So we have the logical definition for these two types. So therefore, for concept without mention, with contrast, without contrast, we'll classify ended. So this is your type 3, right? And sometimes we only have type 1 in your list. It's because there's no abstraction that, always just say with contrast or without. So this is sometimes you see the type 1 appear in the content, purely just because no one asked for that concept. It can be automatically generated even. And but some other area, the later on example for the conditions, so that means basically exclude certain conditions. And this is actually it's a challenging area, how to modeling those, and that classification of those. So that is an area we are still working on.
Yes.
And yeah.
Totally agreed.
Thank you for your feedback. Yeah.
So SNOMED CT is basically closed world, or they adopt closed world observation. So when when a concept denies any existence of concept, it is not. If a clinical idea is not mentioned in the concept, you should not assume that that idea is not existed in the concept. So many concepts assume that some idea is already embedded in the concept, and they do not mention in the concept names or descriptions. So I found a lot of cases of that. So in ideal situation, the SNOMED CT should adopt open world assumption and designate every ideas and give information of whether this idea is existed in this concept, and every imaginable ideas of the world should be judged by the.
Yeah, definitely. We are.
But we cannot do that.
We are following the open world assumption in the logic model because based on EL profile to classify those. But some area, like earlier mentioned on the concept being primitive or defined, fully defined, you will see those have better classification results. But if those are primitive, then become challenge. People assign the parent manually. Sometimes you're missing certain parents, and these are still ongoing progress as a QI. Quality improvement work will address some of those. Now, your feedback welcome, so we can look at those and identify the issue. Maybe some issue we didn't even identify during the work we're doing at the moment. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ole Våge from the Norwegian Health Directorate. Thank you for a very interesting talk. It's not a question, but maybe more like a comment. The implications are not, like you mentioned, it could destabilize knowledge graphs and such. There are also other implications of more linguistic kind, like in the case of translation, we would expect there is a consistency in these concept pairs in terms of lexical choice or syntactical structure. So what happened in at least in our translations that, and we ask a translator to, check the hierarchy for the parent, to see the siblings, to do a translation. So the concept pair, there is consistency with or without perforation or whatever. However, I think that this addresses some of the issues we had sometimes that the translators couldn't find the concept pair because they would just go to the parent and it's not as a sibling. So I want to thank you for this work because it has also linguistic and implications. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned semantic similarity, and I think semantic similarity is a very complex thing. It's not easy to be grasped. What is your concept of semantic similarity?
So semantic similarity, many researchers already found that the two concepts are similar when the path from one concept can get to the other concept in a short level of concepts. So I adopt that idea. Even though the two sets of concepts have the same number of paths, I would give work score to those sets with which share a common parent at the lower level. It's become the least common ancestor. Yeah.
Purely structural criteria, which I do not subscribe. For instance, if you have two siblings, let's say anxiety and fear, they are siblings, they are very close.
Yeah.
That means you can substitute one by the other without severe consequences. You have others, for instance, you have potassium and sodium. At least in a medical context, you cannot substitute. It's really, they have two completely different functions. And therefore, I think semantic similarity is very, very, very difficult to really define. But of course, you're right, there are structural similarities and there are, let's say, semantic similarities. But just to leave this open, I don't have a good answer for that.
So yeah, some researchers might prefer the word relatedness to similarity. Yeah, some although they are autonomous, if they are closely related, that gets a higher relatedness score, even though they are autonomous in the meaning. So yeah, it is. I agree that it is very hard to define what is similarity and what is relatedness, because two concepts that are that have very different meanings would have a common parent. And I found that only depending on the path in the graphs would mislead us that the two concepts are really highly related, even though in fact they are not. So yeah, it is tough.
Thank you. Sure, we have time.
So I have another question related to your method. So in looking for a common ancestor, do you just go to the immediate parent, or do you look further than the immediate parent? Say, I mean, the type 1 can become a type 3 if they share a grandparent, right, theoretically?
Yeah. So yeah, I just looked at the immediate parent of the concepts. In the case of orchitis with abscess and orchitis without abscess, they will meet their common parents will be at 2 levels up, like inflammatory disorder of male genital urinary tract. I remember. So yeah. That would that is good though. Yeah, they provide that the two concepts have the common core idea of the inflammatory disorder of genital urinary tract, but it's still, I think it still does not provide much information to do vector representation of the two concepts, and this is still that will bring in some too lenient or not robust model calculation of vector space representations.
Okay, we have time for one more question if anyone has one. No? Okay, thank you very much, Eunsuk.
Thank you.
With that, we will conclude this block of sessions. Online delegates, you can rejoin the next group of sessions at 13:30 KST through the event lobby. On-site delegates, lunch will be served at 12:30 in the exhibition hall, where you can also view e-posters and lightning talks. This is also your last chance to visit the exhibitors and play the passport game. Thank you very much.